everybody and welcome back to another episode of Prog Mondays. We're going back to the yearly showcases. So today I will be talking about my favourite progressive rock albums from the year 1970. I think the last one I did was 1971, so now we're doing 1970. I know it's gone in a bit of a weird order, but hey, what can I do about it? But they're all in a playlist in order, so you can just check out the playlist if you want to watch me talk about it in order. But this is quite a monster year actually. There was actually quite a lot of good prog stuff, a lot of prog bands starting up their careers at this point. So again, I use this book, the one that I always refer to help me with this list, and there are a few here that I'm going to mention that I don't have any physical copy of, but I am fans of the album. So I'll just talk about those ones very briefly. So we have the first Atomic Rooster record, the self-titled Cressida record, which I think some of you guys have recommended to me, which I absolutely loved. The self-titled Quartermass album, fantastic record, some great underrated prog, and also the self-titled Barclay James Harvest record, which is, again, absolutely fantastic. And I will show up all of the album covers as I'm talking about them. I'm just seeing if there are any more. Yes, also the MacDonald and Giles record, which, if you don't know who those two people are, they were in the Court of the Crimson King, so they were members of King Crimson, and then they made that solo album, which is a fantastic solo album. So yeah, those are the ones that I don't have physical copies of. Now on to the ones that I do. So I'll start with this one because it's a CD version. I'm gonna have to censor this. But this is Time and a Word by Yes. I absolutely love this album. This is one that I've listened to only very recently. I'm still getting through the Yes discography via the studio albums box set that I got recently. I think this is a great album. I think it opens up with such a banger. Again, I'm gonna have to censor this. Opens up with a really great track, very strong, and it's strong all the way throughout. And I think that my favourite track is probably the first album on the first track on the album. But I do love Then, Every Days, and Sweet Dreams as well, which is all like the first side of the album. Probably not in my top Yes albums, but it is still a fantastic one. Right, I've got so many here to sort through. Alright, we'll start here. This is H to He Who I'm the Only One, and this is by Van der Graaf Generator. I'm really getting into their sound at the moment because I'm kind of getting into the lesser known progressive rock. I know this isn't really lesser known in the prog community, but I'm just talking about the overall music community. This is such a fantastic record. I really love their sound, and I like the songwriting, the vocal style, the musicianship, everything about this group I love, and this album in particular. This is not my favourite Van der Graaf Generator album. My favourite is probably Porn Hearts still. I really like God Bluff as well, but this is an absolutely fantastic record. If you have not heard of Van der Graaf Generator, then you should check them out. I would probably recommend starting with something like God Bluff or Porn Hearts to get an idea of what they're all about. Next, as you guessed from my shirt, we have the first ELP record that was released. This is a self-titled debut, and what a debut. I mean, this is such a great starting point for a band. I mean, as you guys know, the three of them came from previously successful groups, and they came together and formed ELP. This is a fantastic record, and, you know, opens with that, you know, that fuzzy bass sound of the Barbarian, and, you know, it's got the Three Fates, which is one of my favourite pieces of music ever. Take a Pebble, Knife Edge, you know. It's got Lucky Man on it, so if you don't know much about ELP, you probably know Lucky Man because that's quite a well-known song. Right, so the next one is another self-titled album. This is the self-titled Gentle Giant record. I love this album so much. I love the layout, and I just love the album itself. This is the first Gentle Giant album I ever heard. I've actually got quite a story with this one. So if you have been here for a while on my channel, you know that I had like a very, very short period of time where I worked in a coffee store, and I was just feeling really sick, I think, one of the days, and I decided to listen to this album because I'd never heard it before and I wanted to listen to something new, and I absolutely fell in love with it, and I fell in love with the whole sound and the whole vibe of Gentle Giant, and it's like a new genre of prog that I'd not really heard. Like, this is proggy prog, like proper. You know, you got things like ELP or Yes and stuff that blend like classic rock with prog, but are still predominantly prog, but this is very, very much all prog. It's very full on, and it's absolutely fantastic, and I really recommend this to anyone. This isn't not my favourite Gentle Giant album because I've listened to quite a lot of their discography now at this point because of the box set that I got, but my favourite is probably Three Friends or Power and the Glory, which actually is taking its time to kind of grow on me, but I think I'm gonna really love it. And I'm gonna definitely re-listen to this self-titled debut because it is a very, very good album that they kicked off with. Here we go. This is Trespass by Genesis, and I love this album. This is one of the Genesis albums I'm more new to because I'd heard Nursery Crime, Foxtrot, Selling England. Those were the three that I listened to quite a lot, and I only really kind of got into Lamb Lies Down recently. And this one, this is the one that's just before Nursery Crime, and this is absolutely amazing, and it's underrated in a way because everyone talks about Nursery Crime and Selling England by the Pound and Lamb Lies Down, but no one really talks about how good Trespass is. It's got such a great sound, it's got the knife on it, such a fantastic album, and you know, you could kind of tell by like hearing this album, this band is going places. You know, I can't wait to hear where they're going to take this sound and what they're going to turn it into, and they turned it into something great. But definitely check out Trespass, great album. Next one, probably one of my favourite albums of the Pink Floyd discography. This is Atom Heart Mother, probably, as I said, one of my favourites from the discography. This is a prog album, straight up. You can't deny that Atom Heart Mother, the suite, the 23-minute long, is not prog. That is a prog track. That is full prog, and I love it, and it definitely took its time to grow on me because this album, that particular section is very strange. Also the album closer as well, Alan's Psychedelic Breakfast, is that the name of the track? I think it is. Weird. But I love this album so much. It's one of my favourite Pink Floyd albums. My favourite Pink Floyd album is still Animals, and Wish You Were Here is very close second though. But this is absolutely great, and I don't really need to say much else because you've probably all heard this album, but this is absolutely great. It's fantastic. Next we've got some more kind of underground, under the radar prog. This is Gracious' self-titled album. This is fantastic. You know, they're a band that's actually from very close to where I'm from, so I guess that kind of helps with the whole getting into them. But they are quite not well known. But this is so amazing. The keyboard playing on this is definitely the highlight of this album. It's just so beautifully done and so mesmerizing, and it's so fluent and it feels so effortless. I think my favourite track on here is Heaven. We've also got the second album that they did, it's up here somewhere. I think they only ever released 2 albums, but this is absolutely great, and if you haven't heard of it, I really urge you to. I will put some of these in a playlist or something, which I will talk about at the end, but this is fantastic. Please give this a listen. Next we've got some Canterbury scene music here. We've got Third by Soft Machine, probably the most well known of the Third Machine, probably the most well-known of the Soft Machine records. You know, it's a very short album. It's a similar structure to Tales from Topographic Oceans, where each track is very long, but this is very much jazzy, proggy kind of it's its own genre. I think that Canterbury scene prog is its own separate thing, because it's got such a specific sound that's very different to something like Genesis or Yes or I'm Still Like a Palmer, or even Rush for that matter. But this is very good and very jazzy, and I'm getting into that kind of side of prog, the more jazz orientated music, so this has been great. Soft Machine are a very good band. I've listened to quite a few of their records now. I've got 4th and 5th on vinyl now, which are 2 great albums. I talked about that I think in one of my haul videos. I'm really getting into Soft Machine at the moment, so I think that this is a great album for someone who wants to understand what Soft Machine are all about and what Canterbury scene music is really like. I wouldn't give this to the faint of heart, the people who don't know much about progressive rock, although if you like being chucked in the deep end, definitely check this one out. Because that album took a long time for me to get into because of just how chaotic it was. Alright, we're coming to the last couple of albums, so I'm just going to lump these 2 together because it's by the same band and from the same year. So we've got In the Wake of Poseidon, and we've also got Lizard, both by King Crimson. More of a fan of In the Wake of Poseidon. That is my favourite out of these 2 because I just love the melancholy feeling of this album. Just the music, the use of the mellotron on this album was so great. I'm not yet into Lizard, but I do really love it. I'm not quite grasped the concept yet. Well, it's not a concept album, but grasped it because I'm still kind of getting into it. I love some of the tracks on here a lot, but this one definitely takes it for me. But both are very good albums, both by King Crimson, one of my favourite bands at the moment. Again, none of these albums of these two are my favourite of the King Crimson discography. My favourite will always probably be Red, because I've got such an attachment to that album. It's probably one in my top 5 albums of all time, but these two are absolutely great, and I'd recommend listening to this one if you want to get into King Crimson, because this has got a perfect blend of the King Crimson sound, like everything that they're all about. So it's got parts obviously from In the Court of the Crimson King, which is such a varied album like this one. I know a lot of people aren't such a fan of In the Wake of Poseidon, they just think it's a kind of crappy follow-up album to a great prog masterpiece and music masterpiece in general, but I definitely think that this has got a very, very good place in the King Crimson early discography. Talking about variation again, you know, In the Court of the Crimson King is very varied. You know, it's got jazz, it's got, you know, that moody blues kind of sound, it's got everything, and I think so does this, and so does Lizard. Lizard's got a lot to offer, but definitely not one to check out just to start with. And the last album, don't worry, it did not escape me. We have Benefit by Jethro Tull. The 51st anniversary of this was a couple of days ago, I think. But this is absolutely great. I'm a big Jethro Tull fan in our house, and big fans of Jethro Tull in this house, so this is great. This is one that I'm still, you know, getting into, but I love a lot of the tracks on here. You know, To Cry Your Song, With You There to Help Me, just fantastic. Where can you go wrong? It's Jethro Tull. So that is the end of the video. I know this has been quite a short one for my album rundowns, but I noticed I talked quite a lot in this video, and I know a lot of people have kind of pointed out that I talk too quickly. The problem is I can't slow myself down. Once I've gotten going, I can't stop. You know, when I'm talking about something I love, e.g. prog or music, you know, I ramble and I talk very quickly, and you know, I don't mean to do that, but I just do. I do it when it comes to presentations. It's something I usually do when I'm nervous, but I'm not nervous. I'm actually just very comfortable talking about music now. But yes, thanks for watching, everybody. Down in the description, as mentioned in previous videos, are my Spotify playlists. I will be adding a lot of stuff from April and stuff like that. I mentioned it on Friday's video that I will be, you know, starting up these monthly playlists and all that kind of stuff, so very much look forward to that. And again, if you have not picked up the new Prog magazine issue, then please do. They are a very, very great business and have a lot of stuff to offer. I mean, I'm in the new one, and you know, there's some great articles, so definitely check it out, and I will see you guys on Wednesday for another review. See you later.